Ah, YouTube, YouTube, YouTube. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. First things I'll start off with an apology after an fact. I was really not happy with last night's stream, and like that's the third stream in a row where there'd been, and I call it quality issues, frankly, um, just due to like kitten play, which is cute and adorable in its own fashion. And if I was running a kitten channel, great. But when I'm trying to tell a story, it definitely takes away when I'm trying to tell a story. And and also when I'm trying to focus on the reading and the editing, that's not a good way to edit. So I'm taking care of it this time. Um, we'll see how this works out. Hopefully, this is a better situation. Um, so for those of you who are just tuning in, I am currently reading my father's novel, The Sword and the Rose. I am on chapter 14. Um, yeah, there's chapter 13, 12, and 11 are all could be better. They've all been read, technically, sort of. Um, and you can go back to the beginning to catch it. I'm not sure, like, the past three may be a problem because it may not be very obvious. Um, because I was like distracted, so I wasn't reading as clearly. So please just let me know. And we'll go from there. Hopefully my continued reading will be able to like catch up and we'll be able to kind of plot on. Um where we're at in the story right now is, well, there was a fade to black scene at the end of this last chapter. So um and now we proceed with, it feels like there's a bit of a jump here because it's fade to black, and then we're into chapter 14. And without further ado, I will present chapter 14 of The Sword and the Rose. Well, there's conspiracy around for certain. How big, how bad, can't say for sure. Got people with most knights holders, but all they know is they meet sometimes. For conspiracy against Baron, knight holders got to be some serious stupid to allow of servants, trusted or no, in the same room. They were meeting on the practice ground, a good open place to talk without being heard. Wellstar nodded. No evidence against anyone, Melga? All I know is I serious certain Marquian Darharelevant is the ringleader. I see. You maybe stamp on them, arrest Darharelevant, look at evidence against him, find him guilty, hang him. Others will run for cover. Wellstar tapped his leather sleeve. Two problems. First off, Darharelevant is by far my best military commander, and I wouldn't like to deprive myself of him this year, when Wardick is likely to be causing trouble for us. And second is that to look at the evidence and find him guilty will just make others sure that they need to unite against me, and it'll make them more cautious too, and harder to catch. You gotta do how you see fit then. I think you serious soft-hearted. But maybe something else you maybe but something else maybe you do. Invite his sister to Grandel Castle as a guest. That maybe make him a little less willing to make trouble for you. Salder's tears, Malga. How can I get anything done with that woman winding herself around me every time I stick my nose out of my chamber? A smile flickered quickly and on and off Malgathup's face. Ah, yes, and you be kidnapped sometimes yourself. Blast you! Walser suddenly cut himself off and smiled. Malga, someday you'll find me looking at the evidence against you, finding you guilty and hanging you. A grin showed on the olive face. Ah, but you too soft-hearted for that. About more irrelevant. Suppose you assign escort to her. We got 3, 4 free nights come through. You manage to find room and food for them. Take a good-looking, good-mannered one. Give him a little extra money and assign him a task. I see, said Guelser slowly. And he answers her demands to see me with various versions of my Lord Baron is very busy these days, but will speak to you as soon as he has an opportunity. Malgathop nodded. With some practice, you may yet be devious like your wild Lafetta henchman. I shudder at the thought, said Gualsor, but he was smiling. Yes, I'll have her all know arrange an invitation. Make sure invitation leave no room for refusal. Of course. That evening he talked to Brennan about it. I won't always be able to avoid her, of course. I just wanted to be sure that she laughed. You wanted to make sure that I didn't get jealous. Don't worry. I'm not so fearful of my status as all that. He grinned. So you think I'm securely under your spell, do you? She chuckled. You're here in my rooms almost as many nights as you're in your own room. What do you think? Melga hasn't sniffed out any magic, so it must be a subtle sort of spell. Shall I demonstrate again? Perhaps you should. I may be able to see myself where the magic lies in it this time. Somewhat later, she asked, Well, have you found where the spell lies then? He chuckled softly into her hair. I'm not certain, but I think the spell is one that Master Pemberland will never acquire. Will you go back to your own chamber tonight? I think perhaps I ought to. Staying over a time or two is fine, but my guards deserve better than standing in the hall all night. And what if someone needs to find me in an emergency? And you really think they wouldn't know where to look? I imagine they would, he said with a chuckle. But just to observe most of the proprieties, I ought to spend some time in my own chambers. He kissed her and left. What news, Forsyth? Wellsor had been out inspecting some of his farms when a page had come riding up in some excitement to tell him that Marshal Forsyth desired to speak with him regarding very important matters. A peasant comes stumbling out of the Lustmore about a week after a midwinter feast. He were one of those ones the bandit had kidnapped back last fall. Ah, that is some news. Well, Lord, there be more than that. This fellow, he said that the bandit chief, the fellow named of Bloody Toastag, had built himself some sort of fort in there. A fort? Wooden palisade, I suppose? So 'twould seem, my Lord Baron. They've shacks of sort out there, and peasants were set to work setting a palisade around these huts. Once that were done, the peasants were set to work patching up the huts. They were kept in a pen otherwise, and finally let to build shelters a sort for themselves. And they're still being held? Through the winter? 'Twould seem so, my lord. This fellow who escaped, He had heard that they were to be planted for the bandits in the spring. Planting? So he said, my lord. Wellsor rubbed at his leather sleeve. I don't like this at all, Foraith. It would seem that this Tosteg is setting himself up to become nigh self-sufficient in the swamp with fortifications and all. So when we do come to haul him out of there, we'll have our work cut out for us. Sounds like it'd be a tough job already. Wellsor nodded. I think you're right. I also think that it'll be some time before we want to go into the swamp after them. Very right. It'd be much too early in the year right now. And in spring, when the rivers rise, the swamp be more impassable. We'll have to wait until high summer. Just so. Any other bad news? Well, the fellow says they've got men to watch and set ambushes on all the approaches. And add to that, he said they've got a magician in there with him. A magician? That's all was said, my lord. I see I'll have to make a trip to interview this escaped fellow myself. Would you arrange for that, Foraith? Yes, my lord. The marshal was about to turn away when Gwelsor spoke again. Foraith, have you given any thought to marriage? After all, you are now a knight holder, and you've lands and property. You need an heir to take your place after you. Father's boots! Who'd have me, lord? Oh, I'm certain that somewhere there's a knight holder with a daughter or two, and a desire to be connected to one of the prominent men of the barony. Forth shook his head. Think what the woman would be suffering, lord. Most of the knights dislike me for being a muck-footed peasant, and a woman married to me would be having it 10 times worse. Give it a little while, lord. After a few seasons, I might be thinking again. Pardor Dar Endeswick was a slender, dark-haired, handsome young man with a tendency for flashy dressing. He might have had cause to feel nervous with his baron suddenly descending upon him with 20 men, but he gave no sign of it. You wish to speak to the peasant who came out of the Lesmore, lord? Of course, I will arrange it immediately. Come up to the hall while my people find him. He turned and gave the necessary orders to a page, then led Gwalsor up to the high vaulted hall of the Hold Castle. Hold on here. Sorry, I just needed to backtrack here. Sorry, I have to do some editing on the fly again. Pardon me. Lennosaur Han Donaith swung himself on a pair of crutches into the presence of the Lord Baron in the hall of the Hold Castle. The crutches made it difficult to bow properly, so he stood with his head lowered until Gwalsor spoke. Lennosaur hen donate? Yes, my lord Baron. Gwalsor looked around. Fetch the man a stool. I wish to talk to him. And how shall I if he falls flat on his face? A stool was fetched and Lennosaur sat down. Now, said Gwalsor, you said that they have a magician with them? Yes, my lord Baron. He be there indeed, but he don't seem to be one of them. They be asking his opinion now and again, but most times he be doing his own work. You have any notion of what sort of things he did? Frightful, weird things, my lord Baron. He had this carved wooden man, all spelled over, who'll be walking around and fetching and carrying for him. They be saying 'twere fearful dangerous even to be touching that wooden man. Worse yet, my lord Baron. One of the bandits themselves tried to attack the magician for some slight, and he slew the fellow with a touch. Then he raised him up again and sent him fetching and carrying like a wooden man. I see. Could you guide us back there? Back in there? My lord Baron, the last 3 days I were but stumbling and staggering this way and that until I at last came out. I could be trying if you command me, but I'd be no safe guide. I appreciate your honesty. How many are the bandits? Somewhat over 50, my lord Baron. Arms? Swords, axes, spears, my lord Baron. Many of them be carrying bows or crossbows as well. Armor? Little enough, my lord Baron. Most of bucklers. A few have mail shirts or brigandines as well. The Baron paused, tapped off his cuff of forbit. You have family here, Lennosaur? Only a wife, my lord Baron. The child, she died of the coffin sickness last winter. Well, prepare yourself, Lennosaur. I wish you to move to Grendel Castle. In part it is a reward for your help. In part it is because I wish you to be nearby in case I require to speak to you again with you again. We will find work for you among the castle servants. Yes, my lord Baron. Wellsor turned towards his entourage. See to the transportation of Lennosaur, his wife, and their goods to the Grendel Castle. Lennosaur's eyes widened. My wife as well, my lord Baron? Of course. Did you think I would take you off with no care for your family? No, my lord Baron. But he had the look on his face that said he had thought that would be the case. Timberland was well dressed, as usual, but had some odd purple stains on his fingers. Quelser tried not to stare, but the stains were so clear and contrasted so much with the magician's usual fastidiousness, he couldn't help looking. Timberland noticed and smiled, then shrugged it off in a casual way. Some of my work is alchemical in nature, my lord. I am working at devising a potion against certain rashes and skin diseases. This particular one involves a mineral which tends to leave stains such as this. I see. Yes, lord, when your summons reached me, I had little time to do more than remove my apron and come. The stains do not wash off, though they wear away with time, and I felt it best not to delay to raise the kind of spell necessary to remove them. With some effort, Gwalsor prevented himself from grinning. Well, Mr. Pemberland, I have another commission for you. Another curse, my lord Baron? Gwalsor smiled. Not this time, Master Magician. You're familiar with the Lesmore? I know of it, my lord, though I could not say I'm familiar with it. There are some intriguing plants there, which I've been told produce very potent poisons. Hmm. You are aware that There is a group of bandits hiding out in the Listmore? Of course, my Lord Baron. That story has been around for somewhat over a year. The latest word, of course, is they're having kidnapped several peasants to build fortifications for them. Wellsor gave him a look. You've heard of all this, then? Certainly, my Lord Baron. And of the destruction of the force that sought to invade the swamp? I suspect that I have a notion of what you want of me, if I'm not being too presumptuous. Wellsor allowed his grin to show. Speak on. I'll let you know if you're wrong. You wish me to use my abilities to find a safe way into the Lessmore for you and your foes. How soon do you need this? As soon as possible. Though there is not so much pressure for time as there was at Gwilla's Hole. Take 2 weeks or so, and do what you can. I'm not sure if you're aware of the fact, but the bandits have a magician with them. That would likely be something you wish to know before you go sticking your nose into the beehive. Pemberley looked thoughtful. I will need today to make preparations and to finish the notes on my latest work. He glanced at his stained fingers. I can leave the day after tomorrow. Tostig dismissed the messenger, then hunted up his second in command. Manic was supervising some building, just an occasional frown, using little physical force, just an occasional frown and threatening fist. Well, man, that peasant we lost, he seems to have walked into the muck pool and back out again. Our spies out there said he's told them all about us. They say the Baron's even got himself a magician out there who'll be looking for the ways into the Lessmore. Ha! And that blockhead said he'd be drowned. You be wanting me to knock his fool head off for him, or will you be doing it yourself? No, he's not going to be getting away scot-free, but I be thinking I want to have an interest in punishment for him. Thing I be wanting to talk to you about is this. I be thinking that with this magician out there sneaking and spying, maybe we ought to be talking to our own magician. You wantin' me with you? If you don't be mindin' too much. You be going to talk to him about the dead peasant again? Tostig scowled. Talked to him once. Didn't get any much forward, you recall? The fellow's dead, he tells me. Matter to him or you what happened to the body? I don't be imagining he'll have changed his mind. Still be irking you at that? It be, but not so much as I be wanting to find myself fetching and carrying for him. He shot a quick smile at Manic. Or be that your intent, man, to push me into doing something rash so you could be taking over this little army of ours? Oh, for certain, sure, I be wanting the leadership of this lot toss. Bear be giving me the creeps not to be the one be as saving as having to watch his back after being assigned captain or guard duty. As for breaking up the fights over divvy and plunder, why, I be yearning for the day. You don't be caring much over the corpse? Manic shrugged. Don't usually be agreeing with the old stink maker, but this time I be thinking he be having the right of it. He be dead. What do we be caring? Oh, I suppose you be understanding what he be doing with that corpse? Manic shook his head. About magic and the like? I don't be knowing, but dead be dead. Conversation slackened as they approached Slava and Hanch's hut. Tostig had to rap 3 times before the door was answered. Hanch stepped outside, and before the door closed, Tostig caught a glimpse of the peasant's corpse, sitting up, naked, on a trestle table, one arm outstretched, index finger pointed. The door closed. How may I serve you, Tostig? By burying that poor dead thing in there, Tostig thought. But what he actually said was, Baron out there be getting ready to attack us. My people be saying that there's a magician out there studying how to get in here. You wish me to foil this magician? Tostig thought about it for a bit. Now you say you do be foiling him? Wouldn't the Baron just be hiring somebody new? That's so, I would think. So what do you want of me then? This magician. Suppose you be trying to keep track of what he be doing so that when the Baron's army be coming, we can be ready for what they be doing? Hinch frowned. Then the frown cleared. This will take much of my time, you know. I suppose it might indeed. But you'll be worse interrupted if the Baron come riding in and burn us out. Hinch smiled a slow smile. Yes, that's true, isn't it? I'll just have to do what I can, then, won't I? We appreciate that very much. So, I will go to work directly. He turned back toward his door. Tostig suddenly found him speaking a little more bravely than he'd ever thought possible. A moment, please, wizard. Hanch turned back to look at him, dropping his hand from the door. What you be doing with that poor dead lad in there? Hanch smiled, that irritating smile again. Perhaps I ought to give you lessons in my art, but no, you are an unlikely apprentice, to be sure. Let me see, how shall I explain? He looked off toward the treetops, across the clearing, deep in thought, then spoke again. Suppose we say that I am attempting to master the essence of life. What is it that makes up a living being? Can this sort of thing be copied by any means? And what might such copying require? This is the sort of thing I am attempting to learn here. Have you understood any of what I've told you? Tostig nodded. I think I be understanding. Not something for the likes of me, though. Good day, wizard. Without bothering to take his leave, Hans moved back inside and closed the door, while the two bandits walked away. Tostig said, Man, I believe ye be trying to make life back there. That be bothering you, Toss? Be bothering me some. But what be bothering me worse would be if he slipped up on keeping track of the Baron because he were in the midst of his learning and grudged the time taken away from it. Alrighty. And that is chapter 14. And let's see here. I'm curious as to what happens now. So I'm probably going to do I have some review to do because at the beginning of the chapter, there's a scene that I think needs to be there. So I can kind of review this a little bit, but I'm probably going to do most of my reviews on the weekend. But for now, I'm going to quickly go off camera for a second. So just bear with me. I wasn't sure if they were going to be waiting or not. Looks like they didn't wait. Which I guess is a better thing. There's a little pause coming up from under the door while I was reading. Alrighty. Well, thank you all again. And I will talk to you again tomorrow. Again, thank you for tuning in and thank you for your patience with me. Talk to you soon.